Welcome to the Invention show. I'm your host, Brian Freed, and our guest is Rick Kellow. He is the inventor of a very interesting invention called GreatPlate. Welcome to the show, Rick.
Good to be with you, Brian.
You too. And Rick, why don't you start off by telling us who you are, where you're from, and what the problem was that you needed to solve?
Sure. We're from Wisconsin. We invented a product called the GreatPlate. It's designed to hold your food and your beverage all in one hand.
Okay. And what was the issue that you had and the reason why you came up with this GreatPlate?
Well, we had messy kids that kept spilling their sodas and their drinks everywhere and their food. So we needed to find a way to make a happy balance with that.
And were you the one that made them clean up, or did you or somebody else have to clean up after them?
We both cleaned up with it, but it got frustrating after a while. It was either find a solution to that or no drinking and watching TV at the same time.
So they were drinking, they were watching TV, they were eating chips and all snacks and everything else, and it was just a mess. And
Right.
You need to come up with a better way.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so why don't you show us what you came up with? Let's see.
Okay, basically we came up with a round plate with the center. It looks a lot like a chip dip, but what it does is it's able to take a cup and hold it in there solid. Otherwise it would be rocking in the bottom. But it holds the cup from side to side. It doesn't let it tip out. It sits flat on your couch, or you can hold it in your hand. Pretty simple. And you have room for food all the way around the outside.
Wow, can you hold it up a little higher?
Sure can.
Very cool. And underneath, so there's a place for me to kind of put my hand. Okay.
There you go.
Congratulations. That's fantastic. Nice and simple and useful. And I'm sure plenty of people need it and they've been buying it because you've been selling it, right?
We have. We've been very blessed.
So you had that issue of being messy and everything else. And I don't know, maybe it was the kids, maybe it was you. You needed to come up with a better way. So you had that aha moment at what point? Like, what was it? You were downstairs and you watch it again. And did you picture this GreatPlate in your mind at that moment? Or how did it evolve to be able to come up with like this idea that you had?
Actually, it was easier than that. It was one of those things where necessity is the mother of invention. We came upstairs and drew a picture and said, we need to go to the store to buy it. That's how it started.
So you just kind of sketched it out and said, I need to find this somewhere. And what did you do? You searched around the websites, the stores. What did you find?
We went online. We went on the stores. We figured it was out there. It was so simple that this product already has to exist.
And did you find similar type of things that you were thinking about?
We didn't find a single thing. And if it was something that was similar, it wouldn't balance. It just didn't complete all the areas that we wanted it to do. And it was something that we thought it would be pretty obvious. That's why we were pushed into inventing it.
So what do people really do? Like, you have a plate and you have a cup in your hand, right? So what's the typical way that people, so you're talking about sitting on the couch and eating and making a mess and holding the cup and plate and everything else. But what other things were you thinking about that it could be useful for, or where people are holding a cup and a plate?
Well, what makes it nice for entertaining is if you're holding the plate, normally you're holding your plate and your cup in both hands, or you're doing one of these things and you're trying to shake hands in the process and then put it back in there. This would allow you to free up one hand so you could shake hands, or you could actually enjoy your food and your beverage all at the same time without trying to juggle. Like, again, it's so simple, but the funny part about this is that when we started to get into it and look at intellectual property, there were 1,725 provisional patents for this. Nobody took it the rest of the way.
So there were things that existed already. And what did you find? Well, you said you didn't really find anything, but there were these patents that were pending or that were in there in the patent previous the drawings and prior art and everything else. So what did you find? Did you find anything that was similar that kind of triggered what you were coming up with your design?
Two reasons. Nothing was exactly like ours, which was good for us. But the provisional patents only gave us they gave them a 1-year look back. Our situation is that we thought we would take it to the next level. And basically that's a good message for everybody that's listening, is just keep going after it. And I would tell you that well, let me back it up even further. A lot of these things have been sketched on napkins at parties and said, Brian, this is what we should do. and they don't reach it out. They don't do the research. And here's how we brought it to the market at this point.
So you did your prior art search, you did your patent search, you did your due diligence, you went online, you went to the stores, and what did you do after that? So you felt like you were kind of free and clear, or pretty much your design was something that you can really call your own. What'd you do next, Rick?
Well, we reached out to some retailers, some local retailers, to see what they would be interested in buying the product. Menards was one of our first ones. It's a local chain that was here. They took it on instantly, and then we also got it into CVS Pharmacy, and that was our largest order for 141,000 pieces. And right after that, we started to realize the problems with retail.
Okay. Well, let's even go back, Rick. So when you realized that you had this invention and you were kind of in the clear to keep moving forward, so did you sketch it out on a napkin? Did you work with an engineer or a product designer? Tell us about that experience first, because you said that you didn't really plan on being an inventor, and all of a sudden you came up with this idea. So this was kind of unknown to you. So a lot of people just kind of like let the idea fly by, but you stopped and you said, okay, what did you do next?
Well, actually, it was by accident. I have a friend in the tool and die business. We had lunch. I told him about an idea. I showed him a sketch, just like you said, on the back of a napkin. He said, yeah, I can make that for you. That shouldn't be a problem.
So was it something that the first time that you drew it out, you knew exactly what it was going to look like? And did he make CAD files for you? Tell us about that.
Well, he did do CAD files. He did that as a portion of it. What he did was the drawing was almost exactly like it is right now. We had very little change to it. But what he did was he cut out a resin mold, melted some sheet plastic over it, and basically formed that. It was prior to 3D printing, so this is about 10 years ago. And that's how we were able to hold it in our hands for the first time.
And did you go through a few iterations of what it looked like? So he drew it out, and then he made that mold to be able to make it. So it was a 3D print?
No, it was a resin mold. This was prior to the 3D modeling that's out there, and just basically took styrene plastic sheets, heated it up under a lamp, and had it mold right over the resin, if you will. They were really cryptic pieces, but at least we knew that it held the beverage in the center, and it did held the food around the outside. It was a proof of concept, if you will.
Okay. And did you have any iterations that before it got to this final version that that you could share with us?
No, that was pretty much it. I mean, we were very lucky at outside. So
That's
the
great.
only thing that we had to do is just make it into a injection mold after that.
So
that was the next.
So that's where kind of inventors and somebody like yourself, it might have been a fork, like you might not have known what you were getting yourself into. So it was nice to see the sample and the prototype, and you were excited at that point. But did you know what your options were? Whether it was to license it, where you would show it to a company, they would take over or kind of rent the rights to your intellectual property, they would make it, distribute it, and you would earn a royalty, or you manufacture it where you actually go into your own business and start making them and selling them. So did you have an idea of what that was about? Were you understanding of the investment that you needed to put in and what all the activity afterwards would look like?
We had no idea what we were getting involved in. There was a point where we had to make a decision for a mold that would be $50,000 just to do a single cavity. And we were cautioned that you could make the mold, and we could put the pieces together. And once we open the mold and the part cools, that's when we know we have success. We could very easily have a boat anchor here. So this was a gut check at that time. So that was our biggest piece of intrepidation at that point.
So did you get any pricing, or you kind of stuck with your friend that knew the process of making this type of product? I mean, $50,000. I mean, some people have it, some people don't. You know, what was that like to hear that kind of number that you needed to invest in this kind of venture?
That's a jump off point. It decides whether you're going to be serious or not. So when you did that and you made the part and it did come out successful, now it was like, okay, now we got to monetize it. How are we going to get our money back? So that's when we ran what we thought was to mass retail and said, now we got to sell it. It was later that we had found out that there was an opportunity to license, which probably would have been a better idea to turn that part over to people at that point. But we had already invested the capital at this point. And when we did come back to some licensing people, they didn't necessarily have the same thought. They wanted to take it and manufacture it in China. We wanted to manufacture it domestically.
Well, let's talk about that. So you made this, you said, you know what, let me go for it. I'm going to make the tooling.
Mm-hmm.
That was an initial event. Before you decided to make the tooling, did you have an idea at that point of, okay, so I'm going to have X amount of units. What am I going to do with them? Are they going in my garage, my dining room, to a distribution center? Like, did you have any sold at that point? Did you show anybody the initial prototype? Tell us about that, because that right there, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that can come up with an idea and just get stuck with the inventory and then figure it out. But did you have a plan, Rick?
We didn't have a formal plan, but we did show the prototypes and people loved it. There were a couple of people that said, wow, this would be great if I had it at the lake house. It'd be great if we did tailgating. They started to find all kinds of uses for it. And at that point, we thought, well, it could sell at the store. And that's also where we came up with our first stumbling block, because one of the problems with the plate is it has an identity crisis. On its own, sitting on a shelf, it looks like a chip dip. So people immediately assumed, oh, it's a chip dip. I have a chip dip. I don't need something like this. So that's one of the stumbling blocks that we ran into.
Well, can people use a chip dip
Sure.
tray to be able to do what you have?
No. And the reason for that is the bottom inside here is squared off. The chip dip is concave. It's like a bowl, and the cup won't sit in there. The cup will rock and it'll fall out.
Okay. And that's your intellectual property, is to be able to put a cup in there.
That's one of them. We have 6 design patents and 1 utility patent.
Okay, so I'm sure you got everything covered.
Well, the utility patent was the hard part, because when the patent office looked at it, they said a plate has not been patented in 17 years. So they denied our patent. So we had to go back and redo our argument, if you will, in order to get our patent on our plate.
So when you decided to manufacture, how many units did you start with?
I think we did 5,000 units to start.
And this was in the US or overseas?
It was in Wisconsin, right here. Yes.
Very nice. So you have 5,000 units that you made. What did you do with the units? Did you have a place for them, or did you take up somebody's room, or maybe where the kids were making a mess? That's where you stored them all.
No, we were able to put them in the garage. We were able to find some places for them. We quickly got warehouse space. Started with a small condo warehouse type of thing, and we grew from there.
So when you were in the process of making them, colors, did that come up? Like figuring out what colors and packaging? What point did you start to figure that out? Well, obviously you needed to do that before you made them. Was it one straight up color, or did you have to mix them up a little bit?
Our first color that we made them in was yellow. And then we made a black one that was out of recycled plastic, which we quickly found out that the FDA would not approve, because we couldn't source what the material was. So we had to use virgin resin. And then what we did is our plastic manufacturer showed us stock colors that they had for other projects that they were doing. So we wouldn't have to inventory too deep in color. So we would use their red, their blue, their yellow, their green in order to manufacture colors.
And just thinking about this, Rick, like, from not having any clue about resins and plastics and molding and tooling and everything else, look at how far you've come. So now you think about it, like, how did you pick the colors? Like, why'd you pick yellow?
Yellow was a color that my wife picked. So note to self, listen to your wife. And it's been good for the most part, because most of the people that buy this product, we found out, are women.
Okay, so you have 5,000 yellow. You have it in the condo, in the warehouse, and in your garage. So what did you do next? So what about the packaging? Did you have them packaged up with the factory that you made them with, or did you have to do it after the fact?
Well, we ran right to our local Ace Hardware, because they buy their own stuff. They said, we really like it. How's it going to be packaged? I don't know. Where's your UPC code? What's that? It's all things that you need to learn all of a sudden. And what are your case packs? and what's your shipping point? These all things all need to be answered at this point.
You were like, uh-oh, I better now I have to take 2-3 steps back and figure it out. So did you even have a name for it?
Well, we did kick around a number of names. I don't even remember them anymore. One of them was like the Stack Mate and everything else, but we had them at lunch one day at a restaurant, just a stack of the yellow ones. Waitress came by and she said, "What's that?" I said, "It's a new invention that we have." And so she said, "That's a great plate." And it's like, that's where we're, that's a great plate.
Did you tell her?
She doesn't get royalties off of it, but we did tell her that she does have the name for it now. So that's where it came from.
Did you trademark the name?
Name is trademarked, logo's trademarked, all that stuff.
So how did you find somebody to do the packaging and come up with the logo? So you had the name. What did you do to find somebody to help you? Because it seems like you were just out in the dark at that point, like, oh, I better get all this done.
We ran to a local printer and he said, quickly, this will be out of my realm. You should start talking to a larger printer that has a design house that we could do this. We ran into a guy that was extremely friendly, very innovative, and he got us started with it.
That's good.
Yeah.
How was the experience going through and coming up with a logo and packaging?
Logo is pretty simple. Our son designed that. He's a commercial artist, so that was where that came from. The packaging now is less important now that we've changed designs of the plate. I mean, for a while there, it was how do you display it on a shelf or on peg hook. Now that we sell a lot more online and through QVC, the packaging has become less of an issue.
Okay. So you got through all the packaging, whether it was drop ship or mail order or in the retail store. So that also is something that you have to kind of accommodate when you're making 5,000 units to figure out how many each one is going to get. And maybe you're ahead of the game now where you take a purchase order and then you fill it and you know how it should be packaged, right? So you have less inventory, hopefully.
Well, the problem that we had is we did need to get deep into inventory only because when you're manufacturing, your cost to do obviously a few hundred is one price, a few thousand is another price. And now we're manufacturing in the neighborhood of between 10 to 100,000 at a time. So that's the economies of scale because you have to factor in the cost of the setup of the equipment and such.
Well, this started off as a hobby for you, and then it turned into a full-time job. So,
Right.
so now you had everything in place. You got your barcode probably from GS1 US or wherever you get your barcoding from.
Yep.
And that's gs1us.gov or .org, one of those. And a lot of people just don't realize that you need a barcode also. But you got it. You put it on, whether it was a sticker or built into in the packaging. And then, so here you are. You're ready to go. It sounds like Ace Hardware was a good in. They seem pretty receptive and responsive for you.
Yep.
Was that where you first started?
We started with Ace Hardware, and we were in Menards, and then we were at CVS Pharmacy.
I mean, you seem like a kind of like a true salesperson to be able to just get up and say, all right, not only am I inventing this, but now I'm going to put my marketing cap on and my sales cap on and really get out there and let people know what I came up with. So what was that experience like, Rick? I mean, to be able to just walk in and talk to the manager at Ace Hardware or the owner of Ace Hardware, and then these other places that you got into. Tell us about that experience.
Sure. The Ace Hardware was pretty simple. It's a hardware store that we frequent. It's just a single shop. And he was happy to put it on the shelves to try it out. They're always looking for stuff that will start to move. The Menards required some little bit more savvy. You go into the Menards store, you ask for the manager, you start to get an idea. He gives you a link to somebody that says, well, you can email corporate and they'll let you know if they're interested and how it goes from there.
And following all their guidelines and what they need to start with a new vendor. So you have one product. So getting into the stores with one product, but did you have multiple colors that you're offering them, or it's still the yellow one?
No, at that point we were up to 8 different colors. We used 2 of them that we called the teal, the lime green, the orange, and the purple, which were the pastels type of colors. Then we did the red, green, yellow, and blue, which are the primary colors.
And you sell them as a 1-pack, a 4-pack, 10-pack? How did you package them up?
We sold them individually and we sold them in sets later on. Right now, fast forward, we're selling sets of 6 plates and 6 cups in a set online because it maximizes the weight and it also maximizes, what people want in their house. 3 were too few, 4 was too few, 8 was too many, and it hit the price point that we needed to do.
So you really had a vision of putting your product out there, whether it was online, social media, retail. You really tapped into each one. Did you have a plan of how you were going to attack that, or it was just like, you know what, I shop at Menards, I shop at Ace Hardware? How did
Well,
that? How did you kind of scale that?
well, it's like having a firstborn baby. You think everybody's going to love your baby. So everybody puts it out there and said, this is the greatest thing in the world. One of the funny stories was QVC, which is our biggest success. We were turned down 4 years in a row. Every year they kept turning us down, kept turning us down, kept turning us down. They said it'll never sell, it'll never have enough volume, it'll never get to the level that you want it to. And finally, after the 5th year of going after them, they gave us a shot.
What was that like? Was it just easy street? Just everybody saying yes, yes, yes? What was your trials and tribulations at that point of going through getting in the door of these places? Was it easy or was it difficult?
It was difficult. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people that want the shelf space, and not one of the people that make plastic plate similar products want to give up their shelf space. They'll lower their prices. They'll try to do other things. They have a lot of products where they have, like you said, multiple SKUs as opposed to just one plate that comes in there in the process. And then if you have an identity crisis, if you put it on the shelf like we did at CVS Pharmacy, and they just put it on the shelf with no other things around it, it didn't do much. I mean, they put us a aisle 3 second shelf from the bottom, and here it goes. Hopefully it sells. As it turns out, we sold 60% of our products, so it was great on that part of a sell through. But that's when the next problem came in: what to do with the product after it doesn't sell.
Ah, okay. So did you have a plan?
We didn't, but we quickly got one because they came back to us and said, okay, the product sold 60% through. We're in the black, so that's good. And now we'd like you to take the remaining product back. It's like, well, that wasn't in the contract, so they agreed to just liquidate the product, which created a problem for our online sales, because what we sold it to them for, they sold it for a fraction of that, and we had to live through that inventory nightmare online for about 12 months because they sold the product online cheaper than we could make it.
Okay, so you definitely learned some lessons along the way there, that's for sure. But really just overcoming all that, being able to have this product and being able to sell it and the success that you've had. So at that point of getting into the retail, there's different ways that you can actually sell it. So did you have a plan of what you were going to sell and how you were going to sell it? Like, what did you figure out, like what the best return was? Because obviously if you're selling direct to consumer, you're probably going to make more of a margin there, but you have to put some dollars into advertising. So did you have a plan? Like, just kind of getting into this from scratch. You seem like you're learning a lot of lessons along the way.
Yeah, the biggest thing that we did is we knew we had to build a brand. That was pretty obvious. People didn't even know that the product existed or the solution was out there. So we started going to festivals, giving away product, giving it to friends, asking them to promote it on social media. And then we were able to get them to go to the website, get them to go to Amazon. We had to make it easy for them once they decided to buy it in order to get it in their hands. That was probably the easiest. That in conjunction with QVC.
Understood. So when you're doing these demos, you know what, Rick, why don't you show us a quick demo one more time? And then if you don't mind kind of telling us what you think is really making it so this has been a very successful product for you, with much more success in the future. But really for now, just give us a quick demo one more time, and then why and what you're doing that's really making it catch on and be on fire when you're selling it.
Sure. I'll show you 2 things, actually. This is the original plate. It was nice. As you can tell, it's got the food area all the way around it like this. And it did hold the drink. But one of the first questions that they had was, I can't put a burger on it. I couldn't put a piece of pizza on it. Those are going to create a problem. Or if I have a stemmed wine glass, I'm still back to holding it. what do I do to make sure that doesn't tip out of there? So what we did is we changed the design from the original, which still is very nice. The new design was a square grade plate. And if you notice, the drink holder's in the corner. The stemmed wine glass goes in the slot and holds it like that. It also is able to hold the drink like it did before. You can still have the piece to hold it on the side. The other thing was the same amount of plastic, but it's now 30% larger. It goes in the dishwasher. It goes in the microwave. Those are some of the main features, and it didn't have an identity crisis at retail. So people knew exactly what it was when they paired it next to a cup.
And you're showing all these different demonstrations of where you can use it. You're putting in the consumer's minds of where actually you can be in the bar, in a barbecue, in your basement, you know, snack room, wherever. Snack room, that's a good one. Game room, wherever, whether it's adults or kids, it seems like it's pretty open for a nice window of opportunity for many people to use it at different, whether it's in the house or outside, right?
Yep. My father suffers from Parkinson's disease before he passed. And one of the difficulties he had was trying to get food. If you have a spoon, I'm going to go over here,
yep,
and getting up against the edge. So what we did is we designed the corners down here. So now you can actually get the food out into the corner. You can trap it into the corner and bring the food out. That there's another patent that we have. But I mean, for the disabled individual, they can do it right-handed or they can do it left-handed and have the cup in front of them. And it's a little hard to see it that way, but if you can imagine being right next to you in this manner and they can get the food out, that's made a big difference for people with disabilities. So one of our programs right now is to help those people.
Very nice. And for me, I'd probably put ketchup, hot sauce, and all those things in the corners, and I really wouldn't want them kind of running down on my lap, so or off on my shoes or whatever. So just that ledge is pretty helpful. So it seems like you've had several iterations. It seems like you keep kind of bringing it to another level, adding more patents to it, right? Different versions of it. So how are you doing that? Like, is it feedback that you're getting? Is it you personally? Tell us how you're communicating with your customers.
Well, the buyers are helping us out. They're giving us feedback as far as what would be nice. They came to us and said, boy, it'd be nice if you could get it to hold a stemmed glass. Can you make it bigger? Sure, you can make it bigger, but you know, the obvious one was to make it square because that gave us more surface space. Now we can eat a piece of pizza. We can eat steak on it. We can eat a burger on it. And it's more of a traditional style plate that's out there. That's the things that we made it more user friendly, if you will. The original GreatPlate was nice because it floated in a pool with your beverage, so you could float that. And the reason why we got our utility patent is it flies like a frisbee. So that's how that worked out for us. So people actually use it as a frisbee at a picnic.
What about the sauces? Like I was mentioning, if I wanted to have French fries and a burger on there, and I wanted to put ketchup. I mean, ketchup is pretty thick, but what about dressings and things like that? Is there any version of cups or any additional? Well, maybe it's secret right now, but
nothing on the horizon yet. But you're making my wheels turn right now.
Well, I'm definitely a hot sauce guy, and I dip my wings and everything else if I want like that, and just having a good spot for that. I mean, they do come with the sauce on top of the wings, but who knows?
Well, your set is on the way, Brian. It'll be having a spot in the middle for your hot sauce.
There you go. Then I need to put my cup in there.
Okay.
Good. So, Rick, here you are. You've gotten into the retail. You've gotten in online QVC. Like, you've really stepped it up. What's next for you, Rick?
Just continuing moving what we're doing. Just continuing moving forward. Our retail sales at Amazon and online have doubled and tripled each year. So that's the nice part about where we're at with it. So I don't think we've hit 10% of our market share yet. That what we want to hit. Our sales this last year just topped $10 million.
Wow. Congratulations. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
What a great accomplishment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
And what a great guy to let it happen to. That's fantastic.
Well, we've been blessed. And if I could leave one piece of advice for anybody that's out there is,
please
don't give up. There's been many, many, many times where it's like, this is over with. The brief story about the patent, about the utility patent, was I told my wife, if we invested the 50 grand, not to worry. We would get a patent on it. And just for the record, we're over $1 million in tooling right now. But we told her that we'd get the patent on this plate. And when it was denied, we prayed about it and tried to figure out what we could do in order to get it done. A patent, you can't change the abstract the way you described it. It was a plate that could float in a pool and could fly like a frisbee. What we did was we turned the patent abstract around and said, it's a frisbee. That's where we patented it, that you can use as a plate. Then they approved the utility patent. That was a stepping point right there, where if we were going to have a patent, we were going to be knocked off by overseas, and it would be horrible at that point. And that's why we've had it. The other thing that's nice, and to finish with it, good old American ingenuity. We make it cheaper than they can make it in China, in the US. It was the capital up front that made the difference.
Very interesting. So that was really about you and kind of some words of wisdom there. What about for the inventors that are listening, Rick, that maybe have an idea in their head and they don't even realize that they're an inventor, but let's say they come up with something, or they're at some kind of stage during their development, or they're at a point where they have a prototype and they're looking to license or manufacture and take that leap like you have and you did at that point. Give us some words of wisdom of how to kind of keep things going and deciding if they should keep moving forward or not.
I would ask a lot of questions. I'd find products that are out there. I'd find out who the inventors were of those products. Brian, you're a wealth of resources. There's people that are out there that help inventors with these types of things. I mean, at least they can give them some ideas and steer them in the right direction as to what caused the other people to be successful. Copy a lot of the successes that are out there. It's not just the copying of the success either. It's trying to prevent the mistakes that have been brought forward so far. There have been a lot of mistakes that we've made here that we didn't share.
Well, you've definitely made it happen, and you seem like a great resource yourself, and a great resource with the GreatPlate. So
thank you.
Fantastic. Rick, how do we get in touch with you? How do we buy your plate? Tell us your social media. Give us some activity of how we can connect.
Brian, we did something special for you. Here we go. It's 25% off. I don't know if you can see that or not.
Let me get you on. Let me see. Lift that up just a little higher. Oh.
Yep. Got it?
Very nice.
If you go to Amazon and you find the GreatPlate on there, or just go to GreatPlate and you use the promo code Invention, which should be pretty easy for folks at this point, then you'll get a 25% discount off of your product. And folks, if you get it and you like it, please give us a positive review. Reviews are gold on Amazon.
Show us one more time. Let me see that GreatPlate one more time. Oh, the promo code is great. Let me see the product. What am I getting 25% off of?
You're going to get a set of 6 plates and cups that come along with it. They come in a variety of colors. And I will tell you right now, you will be ordering another set relatively soon. The plate holds the cup, and you're on your own on the wine glass. But I'll tell you, it holds all the wine glasses that's out there. So
very nice. Rick, thank you so much for joining us. GreatPlate.com. We can also take a look at your product and what you're up to, and you have all your social media on there also that we can connect on.
We do.
Connect you. Okay, great. All right. Thank you very much, Rick. Really appreciate your story and your experience and your success, and we hope to hear more success and the evolution of the GreatPlate and your brand and your product line. Congratulations, Rick.
Thank you for having us. Enjoy.
Thank you. And if you'd like to be a guest on Got Invention Show, you can go to gotinventionshow.com. Thank you very much for listening, for watching. Really appreciate you listening to our inventors share their journeys, share their successes, share their trials and tribulations. Thank you very much, and keep on inventing.